This part of biology is so hard to students, but don't worry, I will break it down. That classification of living organism, don't worry, just follow me and listen. Okay, now the classification of living organism, right, was first, talked about by Aristotle, right? But then it was just, it was just a Greek philosopher, and it was not a concrete thing, because we cannot just classify, organism based on just plant and animal, or just on random stuff. There must be proper stuff that must be done. Okay, not up to 1707 to 1777. Some textbook will say 1778 based on update. There's a particular man called Carolus Linnaeus. Now, this man was the one that gave the current thing that we now worked on, the current binomial nomenclature of how we name organisms and some basic classifications and all of that. So this was the man that gave us a proper stuff that we still work on. Now, even though based on the thing that he gave, there were still problems, right? There were still problems. What is the first problem? Was the case of virus. Where do we play virus, right? Virus is in between non-living and living, because outside a living body, it forms a crystal. It's just not living. Inside a living body, it can replicate, right? So that is a problem. So that was where the problem started. So we just said, even though based on this kingdom that we now have, kingdom Monerans, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae, kingdom Animalia, there were still problems. Another problem was the light chain. Some people call it lichen, depending. Was also a problem, because lichen is protista, protist, and fungi. Okay, this is a JAMB question anyways. So why would an organism have two things? Look at it. It's comprised of protists and fungi. Just one. That's another problem. But scientists could not help it. There were no solution to it. Another very important one was Iglina viridis, right? It can act as a plant and animal. So there were still problems, right? But we still have a proper one to follow. Now let's get into work. This is just this is a JAMB question. This is also a JAMB question. I know why I'm saying all these things. Okay. Now, I know you can argue that protist is lichen is protist and algae. Some textbooks, but in your modern, it is protist and fungi that is there. Okay. Now, let's get to work. So before I go into this, I must tell you that this order is KP of GS. You must know this. What does KP of GS means? Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. I know you know that. You are familiar with that. This is your textbook, right? KP of GS. KP of GS. So we can name based on this is kingdom. We can classify based on kingdom. Which phylum does it belong to? Which class? Which order? Which family? Which genus? And which species? Now, a JAMB question. Please note that kingdom is the largest. Species is the smallest. I mean, look at it. Plants and animal. Kingdom Plantae, kingdom Animalia. You know what it means to be an animal? In fact, we have about 1.8 million different kinds of living organisms. So when you now talk about animal, that is some things that are not plants, right? That are not part of this, that are animal. They are so big, they are so wide. You understand? So that's why kingdom is the largest. This is a JAMB question. No? Largest, then species, they are closely related. Abi? Just like Homo sapiens, right? They are closely related. Species are the what? The smallest. This is a JAMB question. Please take note of that. Take note of that. So let's get to proper work, right? This is just preamble. You must know this. Now, the kingdom that we said, we have 5 kingdoms, right? Kingdom Monerans, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, Kingdom Animalia. They can ask you another question, especially if you're writing post-UTME. These Monerans here, they are the most primitive. Primitive means old, or ancient. Just use that word to know it. Primitive, old. While Animalia are the most advanced, right? Okay, that is, they are the most developed. They are better. So this order is not just there. Okay, it is important that you know this. Monerans, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. So let's go. Now, what do you need to know about these stuff? What do you need to know? Now, you must understand that Monerans Example of monerans are the what? They are the bacteria and the what? The blue-green algae. In some textbooks, you see cyanobacteria for this. Cyano, blue and green, cyanide, cyano. So cyano. So in some textbooks, you see cyanobacteria. So this is an example of this guy. Now, monerans, you must also understand that they are prokaryotic. Now, the word prokaryotic, okay, pro here, it means ancient, just like we said, old, beginning, false. So in this case, they have what we call false, and the karyotic here means nucleus. So the monerant kingdom, they have what we call false nucleus. That is, they don't have a true nucleus, right? Now, because they have false nucleus, what does it mean? Don't forget, we should have nuclear material, and that nuclear material should be embedded by a nuclear membrane like this. But for the case of this guy, their nuclear material is just dispersed in their cytoplasm. So eventually we call that thing, because it's not enclosed like this, like a proper nucleus, we call it nucleoid. Nucleoid. Because it is not enclosed in a proper, so the nucleus of these guys are dispersed in the cytoplasm. Okay, take note of that. This is the normal word that we have. So these guys are the prokaryotic, the prokaryotic. But from Protista to Animalia, we are eukaryotic. Now you must know something. The word eu in biology means true. Karyotic, you already said it means nucleus. That means these guys, they have what we call true nucleus. That's what it means. They are what we call what? True nucleus, because they are what? Eukaryotic. Take note of that. So now let's go. Just take note of what I'll be saying. Now, Protista, what are the example of protists that we have? We have amoeba. You must take note. There are a lot of them, Chlamydomonas and the likes. So I don't waste time. Now, fungi, we already said they are all eukaryotic. Don't forget, they are eukaryotic from here to here. Now, fungi, a lot of them. Mushroom, right? Rhizopus, mud, yeast, a lot of them. Let me just write one. Mushroom. Now, plantae, absolutely. You know plants now. Let me just write maize. Then animalia, a lot of them. Let me just write man, we, or human being. Now, that is what is at least important that I've said. The Protista amoeba, you know that it's not amoeba, it's amoeba. Fungi, mushroom, I've explained different types. This one can be motile or non-motile. They can even be unicellular or multicellular. A very fantastic yeast is a unicellular fungi. Fungus. Fungus is singular, fungi is plural. So like that. But now, our interest is based on plantae and animalia. Our interest is based on what? Plantae and animalia, because they are very, very important. That's why it is important to us now in this study. Now, plantae, kingdom plantae, can be divided into three. Now, what are the three? We have Talophyta, we have Bryophyta, then we have what? Tracheophyta. In some textbook, they will tell you that non-Tracheophyta and Tracheophyta. Okay, now the word talo means flat, right? Okay, that is why the example of this Talophyta, they are the Spirogyra and Volvox. Just think, you know, this one exists as a colony, and this one exists as a what? Filament. Another JAMB question. Don't forget that. Now, Bryophyta. There are two examples, that common one, liverwort, and Moses. Okay. Now, Tracheophyta means they have what we call vascular bundles, right? Vascular tissue. Because tracheo here, in this case, they have vascular bundles. Now, there are two parts of this. Pay attention as I'll be talking about this one. Now, just like I said, they have what? Vascular bundles. Now, there are two. pteridophyta. Now, in some textbooks, you not see them as pteridophyta, you see them as ferns because they have what we call fronts. They have what we call fronts. Now, the other example is spermatophyta. Now, this spermatophyta, sometimes in some textbooks you see what we call seed plants. Seed plants in some textbooks. Now, please look at this. This spermatophyta, they are now divided into two. They are now divided into two. They are now divided into two. There's a reason why I'm trying to be careful with this space. They are now divided into two. They are divided into gymnosperm. Gymnosperm. I mean, you must know this one. Don't even forget. They are the conifers. They are the conifers because they burn their seed on a coal. In fact, go and search it. Don't leave this way without not searching. This is the way they look. Can you see? They burn it on a coal. So they call them, in fact, conifer is an example of gymnosperm. In fact, the way I used to know it is that GCCG, like RCCG, abi good. Gymnosperm, what is the first example? Conifers. Another example is cycads. Then the last, after this is, don't forget, this is conifers, this is cycads. The last example is gingkos. Gingkos. I have to clean this one. So the last example is what? Gingkos. So we have conifers. So I use GCCG to remember. For the gymnosperm, they are called conifers. They bear their stuff on the coal. Example is conifers, the first C. Second C is what? Cycads. The third example is gingkos. Okay, note that. Now, the last guy here is angiosperm. Angiosperm. And there's a reason why I have to write it like that, so that you will know that this is the most advanced. Because question in JAMB, this is the most primitive plant. That is the old and the most advanced. So the most advanced is angiosperm. So JAMB can ask you, which of these is the most advanced? This is it, Abi, based on this order. If I now ask you between gymnosperm and angiosperm, which one is more advanced? Angiosperm. You understand? So like that, like that. So these are ferns. You must know this. Ferns. So take note of that. Okay. Now, angiosperm are also divided into two. I have to clean this. Angiosperm are also divided into two. Angiosperm are also divided into two. What are the examples of angiosperm that are divided into two? Because that is where I'm going to be talking about next, which is monocot, cotyledon, monocot, and dicot. Look at the way I write it though. I wrote it like dicot. That means dicot is more advanced than monocot. Just like the way we write kingdom, right? Kingdom monerians, protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. So dicotyledons are more advanced than monocotyledons, right? These are what we call flowering plants. Flowering plants. Flowering plants. Okay. I hope you are getting this, because it's very, very sweet. It's very, very important that you know this part. This thing I just said now is a very important part that you need to know. So this, can you see that they bear it on a code? So that's why because they bear it in form of code, they call them conifers, the gymnosperm. Okay, the gymnosperm. So angiosperm, monocotyledon, and dicotyledon. Abi, please take note of this. It is very, very, very important. Very, very, very important. Okay, I think I should stop here so that it will not be too long. So I'll be uploading on plantae, on animalia very soon. So where we divide into invertebrate, Abi, and vertebrate, right? The chordatas. I'll be explaining on that in the next video, and I'll be teaching you how to recognize the monocotyledon stem and the monocotyledon root and the dicotyledon stem and the dicotyledon root. Most of them don't know it, and it's a very common question in JAMB exam. And I'll also be teaching you how to recognize the leaf, the cross section of a leaf, right? Where you see the palisade mesophyll, where you see the spongy mesophyll, and all of those things. Okay, so please take note of that. So I want to ask you a question if I leave you, so that it will help you. Right now, I don't want to ask you, what is the organelle responsible for photosynthesis? It's a JAMB question. Organelle responsible for photosynthesis. Just write it. Your question is, Just type what organelle is responsible for photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. Just write it. Organelle that is responsible for this. Organelle that is responsible for photosynthesis. Just drop in the comment section. So, and look forward to my next part of this particular part of biology. I hope you understand everything I've explained. Don't forget, don't miss it. Plantae, talophyta, bryophyta, and tracheophyta. How do I know? The basic things. The basic things. Talophyta, basic bryophyta, tracheophyta, the basic things. So don't forget that. The basic things. The basic things. I mean, plants, they are the basic things in this case. The basic things, okay? Because we need them to survive. They are the basic things. I mean, so talophyta, they are the Spirogyra and Volvox. Bryophyta, liver, wort, and mosses. Tracheophyta are now divided into two. Pteridophyta, which are the ferns, and seed plants, which are the what? Which are also called spermatophyta. So this spermatophyta is now divided into two: gymnosperm, just like this sperm. So that's why they are now gymnosperm and angiosperm, because of the sperm. Phyta, anywhere you see phyta means plant. Phyta means plant. Don't forget that. Zoa means animal, zoo. So phyta, so sperm, seed. The sperm here is seed. Can you see? Now the seed is now beared on a cone, and I call them gymnosperm. A flowering plant, and I call them angiosperm. This angiosperm is now divided into two: the monocotyledon and the dicot. Okay. Now, another question that you have to also understand is what we call alternation of generation and double fertilization. Bryophytes now, they undergo what we call alternation of generation. You must understand that. They undergo what we call alternation of generation. Understand? Please take note of that. It's a common JAMB question. Okay. Alternation of generation and yes, double fertilization. You must take note of what bucket. If you have not registered for our class, you can send me a DM, and either on TikTok, you see my WhatsApp number on YouTube. If it's on TikTok, you can send me a DM, okay, so that you understand everything like we've done, and join our class. Don't forget, which organelle is responsible for photosynthesis? Drop in the comment section. Bye. See you.